And so the question is, why even go to college at all if you're just basically getting a credential that is worth less and less money in the marketplace?
The idea of going to college and attending university in order to better your life has probably got to be one of the most smartest and successful scams we've seen in human history. Thankfully, we do have conservative warriors like Charlie Kirk to come and warn people, some of whom are already in college, before it's too late, before they fully commit to that 4 years or more of debt, potential misery, wasted time, and all that. So we're going to watch a great video where Charlie Kirk highlights this stuff. But first, guys, please make sure you like our video, comment, and subscribe to the Resist the Mainstream YouTube channel. I'm your host, Darian, and let's get into it.
What exactly do you mean by college is a scam?
Good question. I wrote a whole book about it. Largely, the value proposition that you are being offered is not worth the time or the money that many of you are forking over. There's exceptions to that generally, but for example, the vast majority of students that graduate from four-year college, they'll end up getting a job, if they get a job at all, in a career or a job that doesn't require a college degree. So henceforth, asking the question, why do they go to college in the first place?
Okay, now what do you mean about jobs that don't require a college degree?
Like working at Starbucks as a barista.
Okay. So what exactly do you mean by the value proposition not being sufficient for the cost of going to college?
Yeah, so I mean, going $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 into debt, that's a significant thing. And hopefully if you're going to do that, you're going to be able to prove and have some value for that reason. So for example, there was a study that just came out in the last day, the 16 lowest paying job majors, and the vast majority of those are actually what kids study in college, right? Communications, liberal arts, things of that nature. And so the question is, why even go to college at all if you're just basically getting a credential that is worth less and less money in the marketplace? Now, if you study engineering, if you study finance, terrific, but the scam also is just beyond the financial value proposition. It's the ideological pollutants that are spread on college campuses and the, let's just say, some of the left-wing indoctrination that occurs here as well.
Charlie had a question, why even go to college at all if you're not getting the value proposition about it? Well, Charlie, my friend, and I think you might know this, but there is someone who's getting a great value proposition out of it. And that would be, obviously, the professors, many of them, and how much they're getting paid. But even more importantly, the university administrators, of which there are so many. So to look at an example, we're going to look at the University of California president. This is the University of California school system is the public school system of California. They also have California state universities, another public system. So this is so-called public education, right? It's supposed to be, in theory, non-rivalrous and non-excludable, affordable and all that. Obviously, it's not. We'll get into all that later. But real quick, let's check out how much the University of California president is making, at least according to a proposal from an executive meeting of theirs. Okay, so here's the document here. So this man, Dr. Michael V. Drake, he was being proposed at the time. This was in July 7th, 2020, to be the president, to get this crazy salary. Well, now he is the president and he's getting a crazy salary. Wow, go figure. So check this out over here. The chair of the board recommends that the governance committee recommend to the regents that, contingent upon an effective with Dr. Drake's appointment by the regents as president of the university, Dr. Drake's annual base salary will be $890,000, which will be funded by state sources. What are state sources? Very simple. It's taxpayer money, and it's the exorbitant tuition fees that students are paying. More on that soon. So, yeah, I love to, so he's making $890,000, right? It's almost $1 million a year for just the base of the salary, okay? That's not even the whole thing. And then they make a point to note that it was 2.3% below the 60th percentile, $911,000 of the market reference zone for the position of president. Wow, yeah, Dr. Drake is just hurting, he's the poor guy. I mean, he could have been earning 2% more. So instead of $890,000, he could have been earning $910 or something. The poor sap, what's he gonna do? He's really hurting for cash right now. It's incredible. They also, it gets worse, but they start saying that by accepting a position as president of the University of California, he will forgo a performance award and other compensation of up to 40% of his previous base salary. Once again, the guy's just strapped for cash. It's the almost $900,000 salary. It's just not enough. They also make a point to say that he's taking a voluntary temporary reduction of 10% of his base salary because of the COVID pandemic at the time. Okay, students were paying the same amount of tuition anyway, so I don't know where these budget cuts are coming from, but whatever. I'm not going to complain about him getting less of a salary. So That's cool, I guess. So to answer the question of what Charlie's asking about, well, what's the value proposition? Well, maybe there isn't much of one for the students, but I think it's fair to say that the professors and especially the administrative staff, like this guy, they do quite well. By the way, I just have to bring this up again, but that whole market research thing, oh, he's making 2% less than the 60th percentile of the average president. You know how much the president of the United States makes on a salary? It's right around $400K a year. So this guy is making more than double of what the president of the United States makes while serving as president for a much smaller body, the University of California school system, which is one of the public school systems of California at the university level. They have that, and CSU, the state system. So he's a public servant, at least in theory, much like the president of the United States, and he's making more than double for a job that's primarily funded by taxpayers, as well as crazy tuition fees too now. Okay, interesting.
Okay, so moving aside from that red herring there, I myself am a communication major, and I am very well aware of the communication majors who just take a 4-year degree and go into jobs that either don't require a degree or...
Try to get as close to the mic as you can. Is that okay? Thank you. It's okay. Yeah.
But anyways, I'm aware of the communication majors who only get a bachelor's degree, and if they're lucky, they're only able to get research assistant jobs in communication, or not even get a job that requires a degree at all. But would not those who continue on to get masters and doctorates in communication, who get $100,000 a year or $200,000 a year research jobs, would that not counteract the total economic, socioeconomic value of those who just go into college and then end up Starbucks baristas?
Potentially, yeah. I mean, also master's degrees are expensive, right? PhDs are expensive, so you're looking at least at $150,000 to $200,000 in debt, minimum, if you're going to do that. And if that's the path you want to take, so be it. But there are 11 million job openings in the country right now that pay $80,000 or more that don't require a college degree. 11 million job openings. And I don't think we're always telling our young people, the next generation, that these jobs are available to you. It's an expectation that you go to 4-year college, and in fact, you're treated and almost considered to be dumb if you don't go to 4-year university. And I think that's a big mistake. And not to mention the vast majority, 41% of kids that enter college do not graduate. There's something deeply wrong with the system. So.
Charlie mentioned right there, 41% of kids who enter college do not graduate. I'd argue it's by design, honestly, and it's quite sickening when you think about it. We talked about the University of California president and how he makes almost $1 million a year, and the pity party they wrote for him in the executive meeting because, oh no, he took a 10% reduction in salary off of an almost $1 million payment. And how do they pay for these? Well, I think the tuition is a great indicator of it. So let's take a look at this real quick. So this right here is an article by US News and World Report. It's called A Look at 20 Years of Tuition Costs at National Universities. Okay. Let's see what it's about. So there's a graph down here that shows the 20-year average tuition growth among national universities from 2004 to 2024. So bear in mind, that's only since 2004. That's only the past 20 years. So there's a lot of context that's just from before that isn't there, but it's still outrageous. Check this out. The average private school in 2004 was about 20 grand a year. Bear in mind, that's just tuition. It's not including living cost, opportunity cost, etc. So it's really a lot more than $20,000 if you actually think about it. But we'll assume that. Now look, just climbs and climbs and climbs and climbs and climbs and climbs and climbs. It just doesn't stop. 2024, it's almost $50,000 for 1 year of tuition. Now multiply that by 4. That's $200,000. Now add room and board. It's insane. But then some will counter, well, it's just a private school. It doesn't count or something. Okay. Let's look at in-state public schools. There's literally no such thing as a cheaper public education in terms of the context of the university system. Unless maybe you go online or whatever. But we're talking in person here, the actual experience. 2004, $4,600, about $5 grand a semester in tuition. Okay, seems fairly reasonable. Well, what is it now? That's just about $12,000 in 20 years. It's gone that much. Last I checked, public education, is supposed to be a public good, meaning it's non-rivalrous and non-excludable. You really gonna tell me it's non-excludable when it costs that much to go to college? I think that's pretty prohibitive for some. Unless, of course, they take out loans for the rest of their life that they can never pay back. Yeah, I guess it's non-rivalrous in that sense. All that to say, college is very much a scam. I think Charlie Kirk is right. Let's keep watching the video.
From what you're telling me, though,
point.
from what you're telling me, though, it sounds more like the problem lies not in college itself, but rather the individual paths that people choose who look at a situation, make the wrong decisions, don't stay in school as long as they need to in order to get the career that they want.
Or they drop out because they don't see the value. They drop out because they don't think it's worth their time. And again, half of this audience, after 10 years, if they get a job, they'll end up getting a job that didn't require them going to college in the first place. Half. That sounds like a scam. Why are they here in the first place? Why are they borrowing all this money and spending 4 years on a university just to go get a job that never would have required them to get the degree or the debt or the 4 years being spent on campus? Thanks for the time. I appreciate it. Thank you. All right.
Well, everyone, that wraps it up. Hope you found it interesting. Yeah, Charlie sums it up great. College is a scam. It's not delivering. We look at the massively increasing tuitions costs, these outrageous prices they're paying these University of Regents professors. Not to mention, they're gutting the taxpayer for these public universities. That president we talked about who's making almost $1 million a year, this is a public school. They're gutting the taxpayer for that money. And yet still, they've got the gall to raise these tuition prices at these unaffordable rates constantly. It's a scam. How else can you put it? Well, everyone, we hope you enjoyed the video. As always, be sure to comment your thoughts down below. Let us know what else you might want to see. And we'll see you all again soon. Thanks, guys, and God bless.